if you can do something 18 minutes a day for 1 year, you will be better than 90% of the people in the world at that thing.
In today's episode, Courtney and I sit down with Ryan Hanley. Ryan is the owner of Rogue Risk Insurance. He started his insurance company during the heart of COVID. It was March 9th, right before the zombie apocalypse started. And we're going to dive into how he was successful in business insurance. He's going to give you some really great tangibles today, but we're also going to discuss that it comes back to doing the daily disciplines, doing the hard shit that makes your life easier long term. So with that being said, let's start the show. Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your hosts, Michael and Courtney Weaver, and we have a special guest with us today, Ryan Hanley. Ryan, how are you doing today, my man?
Oh, it's great to be here, guys. Excited for the conversation.
And we're so excited. So you got 75 hard coming up. What is making you want to do 75 hard?
Mostly because it's a long story culminating in I have found that I can be very disciplined in certain parts of my life and not so disciplined in other parts of my life. And I want to see what happens if I have to be disciplined and commit to it for a period of time. If that doesn't force the discipline in the other parts of my life that I'm not as good at, if that makes sense. Plus, I just want to do something hard, like really hard. I mean, growing a business, starting a business, like that's hard. But I mean, like, I guess in my personal life, like I played football, I've done different sporting things, and like that was 20 years ago, you know? So like, I was just like, man, as an adult, it is difficult to find extremely challenging things. It's just more like your life in general is much more challenging as an adult, but the actual things that you work on seemingly aren't when it comes to like a physical and mental type stuff. So I just said, you know, there's a lot of things happening at Rogue that I need to be focused on. I really want to be the best version of myself. And to do that, I thought locking in basically my personal life into a program like this would force me to learn more discipline and become more focused. So I just thought it was the right time.
Yeah, man.
I am 100% right on the same page as you, because I feel like right now we're in the process of training for Machu Picchu. We want to hike Machu Picchu this fall.
Good for you guys. Awesome.
And it's the same mindset because business is challenging, but it's very brain energy. It's a lot of like critical thinking, complex problem solving, whereas I need a physical body challenge because I feel like, and it's exactly what you're talking about, when I do something physically hard or challenging or something that I can get hurt in, I start to have more discipline in that area that bleeds into every aspect of my life. Like even just how I showed up in like friendships and relationships and even in my work. So
yeah,
I think that's a really good point. I'd also say that I think that health, I've been saying this for a few years and really my health journey. I mean, I've always been physical. I played sports my whole life, played in college, and like I've always been physical and have worked out or, you know, whatever. But I didn't take my fitness and health serious. I kind of just like went along and thought I was in shape. And I had a moment back in 2017. I was putting on the first Elevate conference for Agency Nation. And I've told the story before, but the long story short is it was a 2-day conference and I was the MC of the conference. And we get to the last session of the conference was supposed to be a fireside chat between me and a guy by the name of Michael Preem. And I sat down, and after those 2 days, I was so physically exhausted that I sat down in the chair. I looked across to him and I said, I'm not sure if I have this. And he said, okay, well, you just let me know. I said, dude, I'm toasted. I don't have it. So he understood what I was saying. And then, so we started, I kicked off, and just in the intro of him, I knew I did not have the ability to keep up with him. So I looked across, kind of covered my mic and mouthed to him as discreetly as I could, can you take this? He stood up, came out front, and I go, guys, it looks like Michael wants to take over. And I literally just like fell back in the chair, like, you know, because now all the eyes were on him. And what I said to myself is, I will never allow my physical fitness to be a hindrance to the success of something that I do ever again. So from 2017 on, I've been wholly dedicated to creating, to making my physical health a competitive advantage for me in business. Because I think we all think health is good for my life, my longevity, whatever, maybe the way I look, if you're, what have you. But I think that health is also an incredible competitive advantage in business. So I lost 25 pounds. I focused on anti-inflammatory diet. I started lifting heavy and working out and being very focused. I now am physical 7 days a week. I'm doing something 7 days a week. Take on different things like boxing and powerlifting, and I do, rucksack walks and all this kind of stuff. And now I can go all day long. I mean, if I need to put in 18 hours in a day, I could put in 18 hours in a day and it wouldn't even faze me. I would get up and go the next day. I couldn't do that for an extended period of time. So like this idea of getting yourself in peak physical condition so that you can be the best version of yourself at work, to me is something people don't talk about, but is like this little secret that those of us that are physically fit and do focus on it kind of know that most people don't.
And I think it's to your point of that, if you don't have your health, like you can start pulling things back and you can still perform. But if you pull health off the table, you can't perform, you can't do your job. You can't show up in areas where it matters. Like if your health is taken away, that's the one thing where everything's gone. Because then it's no longer, do I want to do it or not want to do it? It's, I can't physically do this anymore.
Yeah, take this for what it is. If I'm competing against someone who's obese, I know that I will beat them over time. They're just not going to have the same energy level that I will have. And I that's point blank. I just know that I can grind when I need to turn it on. I can grind for a month, 12 to 16 hour days, 6 days a week. I'm fine. I have it in me. I've done it before. I've done it multiple times. Right. So like, when I need to get after it, it's there for me. And that's really the way that I think about it. I think about it as preparation. I think a lot of people confuse what being physically fit is. It's as much a defensive tactic as it is an offensive tactic, right? Like I don't get sick very much. I don't know that I've taken a sick day the entire year, right? When I got I won't use the C word. So we'll say when the zombie apocalypse happened to me, it was like a 3-day thing. And yeah, it was shitty, but in 3 days I was back to work. Like, and I was even capable of working on the third day. I was still a little beat up, but like, you don't have brain fog when you wake up. You can go for long extended periods of time at a high energy level. You're able to operate and push through tasks when other people need to take breaks. I need to go have a snack, or I need to do this. I don't need to do that shit. I just keep going. Now granted, you can't sustain this all the time. It's for those periods where something happens and you gotta be on, you gotta go get it. Now your health is there to back you up. That energy reserve is right there for you. And unfortunately for a lot of people, especially those that don't focus on diet, exercise, etc., they when the bad thing happens, now they're trying to scramble and get to the gym or eat better or do these things, or all of a sudden trying to create these habits out of scratch. And that's where they get beat. When if you create the habits now, then when the thing happens, it's not as big a deal. You can plow right through it because your body's prepped, your mind's prepped for those things. So that's kind of the way that I think about it. And I think it's especially true when you reach a leadership position, because you have so many challenges coming at you from so many different directions. It is impossible to be wholly focused on one thing, and you need that mental energy and physical energy to handle it all.
Yep. No, I'm a huge daily discipline. When you're morning, when you're day, and I think it boils down to also confidence. Like when you do something, you achieve it, you're working out, you're feeling good, you're looking good, you're gonna do good. Period. And when you have that confidence, you have that thing that you look forward to every single day, especially as an entrepreneur, to where you can actually go do something. You're not thinking about work. Your creative juices are flowing. You're working on your health. And all of a sudden you'll have these at least if you're like me, I'll have these weird like implants come in and I'm like, oh shit, that's what we need to be doing with the business. Or so it's an outlet as well, not only from a physical, mental standpoint, but just, hey, wow, I should be doing this. And it came to me as I was doing something, exhausting myself physically.
Well, and I think it's also this built-in resistance or built-in challenge, because so much of our life, we're trying to make our life easier. Yep. And so then when we're met with a challenge, or we're met with resistance, or we're met with, I don't know what to do, we fold because we haven't built that into our daily life. So I want to segue this because we're actually not talking to a health guru. So if you're listening right now and you're like, wait, this is the insurance buzz. But Ryan, I think these are key principles in what we're going through as entrepreneurs in the insurance space. So I want to segue this into, you talked about preparation. Can we talk about business insurance for a second?
Sure.
Okay.
We can talk about whatever you want. It's your show.
So I think a lot of our listeners out there are starting to kind of prepare and focus on selling to business owners, selling more commercial insurance, selling more business insurance. And I know that you are incredible at marketing and sales when it comes to that. So how would you talk to that person who wants to prepare or wants to start speaking to somebody trying to sell more business insurance, I guess is my question there.
Yeah. No, good question. My ADHD will not allow me to just add one caveat to what you said before we segued, which is the idea of making our lives easier. That's the problem. I think that that you want to make your life constantly harder. Mm-hmm. That sounds crazy, but in focusing on making your life harder, you actually make your life easier. It's like this weird thing with the universe that the universe doesn't tell you when you're born and you have to kind of figure out. So many people are looking to make it easier. And I promise this will segue into sales, but like we're constantly looking for like this easy button, or geez, if I just want to kick back, or I deserve a break. And it's like, maybe, but when you think I deserve this, or I want this to be easier, or if only this were easier, then you're constantly frustrated by all the challenges that are going to happen either way. So that's kind of my mentality. So I always choose the harder path, as much as it kicks my ass most of the time. I always choose the harder path. And frankly, this is another reason, this is going to sound crazy. I'm not a tremendous golfer. I'm like a 13, but I always try to play from the tips as often as I can. And the reason that I do that is because what if I have the best round ever and I hit from the junior tees or like the easy tees, right? There's like something in my brain that even though I'm not a good golfer and I don't deserve to be on the tips really, as a double digit handicap, I don't deserve to be on the tips, but I always tell myself, like, if I can shoot a 13, if I can be, a 13 from the tips, I'm much happier than that, than being like a 9 from the regular tees. And that kind of sets up, that's kind of an analogy for how I operate my life. I would always rather be doing the hardest version of the thing, because in there, you learn how to play. All the easier ways are that much easier because you get good at doing it the hard way. So transitioning to commercial insurance, there's a couple things that we have to understand in that regard. It is personal lines, and most of our successful personal lines agents that exist in this space, the reason they're successful is because they found a referral partner. Is that a relatively fair statement? That like to be high volume successful in this business, I know there are people that do it on straight lead buying. I know there are people that do it on straight referral, like asking for referrals, but that is kind of linear growth. I don't know too many people that use purely those and grow exponentially. They're the people that I see in personal lines that I know, and this is that are highly successful. They have great referral sources, right? A mortgage broker, an accountant, an attorney, whatever it is. They have some source or multiple sources that send them high volume, high trusting leads that allow them to close at a clip and really crank. Okay, great. That's a wonderful aspect of personal insurance. It is very difficult to find that in commercial. Commercial is much more about grinding. And to that regard, you really have to, you really have to niche out as quickly as possible. And this is one of the early mistakes that I made in Rogue Risk. Let me reposition that. It wasn't a mistake. I did it because it was my reality. I launched, for people that don't know Rogue Risk or my story, I launched my agency March 9th of 2020. So 7 days before the zombie apocalypse hit upstate New York. So I launch, press release, to-dos, all the things. I'm emailing, everything's ready. I got, it's been 5 months of build up to this day. It was a Monday, March 9th. Launch, everything's going. I was going after gyms because I had, in a previous life, I'd been the CEO of a 6-location fitness franchise. So I knew how to speak the language. So I was like, I'm going to pound gyms. I'm going to use Cincinnati and Philadelphia's programs here in New York State. And I'm just going to go get this market. That's what I'm going to do. 7 days later, every single gym in the state is closed. Every single gym in the country is closed. And that is over. And what happened was I didn't sell a policy till the end of May. So I put 50 grand into all the things it takes to launch an insurance agency. And for the first 2.5 months, I didn't sell a single policy. I mean, it was COVID. I mean, they're literally showing pictures of people dying in the streets, right? So I have no idea what to do. I have no idea how I'm going to get this thing off the ground. And what I did was I just said, screw it, and went super broad, super fast. And I did that through creating, I mean, again, it's COVID, so there was nothing else to do. I just created a tremendous amount of YouTube videos that answered common questions, and I went really, really broad. I'm going to get to the answer to your question and the strategy I would actually recommend, but just kind of setting where this comes from. That strategy was great, particularly at that time for getting opportunities in the door. The problem was in commercial, yes, a BOP is a BOP is a BOP, and comp is relatively similar across class codes, but how you talk to business owners, even different Main Street business owners, can be substantially different. And I found that it was an enormous hurdle to jump, having a welder, a bakery, a consultant, a truck driver, every call, every lead was something different. And it was very, very difficult to manage that. So if I had to go back and do it again, COVID aside, right? So let's say COVID doesn't happen. Let's say I was starting today. What I would do instead is I would pick something I can talk about. If I'm moving into commercial for the first time, something I can talk to. What's your thing? Is it youth sports? Is it, do you just love Main Street business and that's what you want to do? I would say you can class a lot of stuff in Main Street, but then you have to be a Main Street small business that's your niche. Or maybe you go after a certain class of business, like a cyber or a comp. Pick one thing that has enough breadth and just drive into that thing. And I know that's classic. It's not like monumental advice. We can get into the tactics and how I would do that. But if you're not, I see this mistake over and over and over again by personal lines agent heavy that move into commercial, is they go really broad, really fast to get opportunities, and they're getting pressure maybe from their carriers who they just got a commercial appointment with, or they're just feeling urgency because maybe they invested in a marketing campaign. Know that when you do any kind of marketing, you're going to get opportunities outside. Have a really strong filter at first and really just focus on one or two things, and you will be much more successful in the long term because you can always add another niche. But if you go too broad, too fast, you get overwhelmed with opportunities. Your service team gets overwhelmed. And it took us almost a year to unwind all the issues created by that because we went too broad, too fast.
Well, let's talk about that, because riches are definitely in the niches. And right now, commercial insurance is being pushed by every carrier. I mean, every carrier wants their hands on commercial business because it's typically good business and typically will lead into the personal line sales as well. So if someone's trying to figure out what niche, what should I specialize in? What should I be the expert go-to in? What are some of those tactical areas you would say? So I'm going to provide a series of filters because I don't really have a good answer.
I would say, if you came to me and you said, we've never sold commercial, what should we sell? I'd say, go learn about workers' comp and sell workers' comp. Don't go to a specific industry, go to a specific class or a specific product. Sorry. And I would sell nothing but workers' comp. I wouldn't sell anything else. Cross-sell BOPs, maybe, but sell nothing else. Be 100% workers' comp business and just be a workers' comp specialist. I mean, that's the best advice. I mean, if you just became one, your loss ratio would be very small. Carriers will love you. all the carriers are pushing up. We have multiple carriers that are now playing 20+% commission on workers' comp policies because they want them so bad. It's such a low barrier to learning. You spend one really good week deep diving, like super nerding out on workers' comp, and you know the 80% that gets you in the door with most businesses, right? There's another 20% of super nerdy shit about X mods and multipliers and all this kind of stuff that you're going to need to know eventually. But 1 week of nerding out on workers' comp and you're 80% of the way there. That's not necessarily the case with most other coverages. So you now, and then you can just market yourself as the workers' comp specialist for your region and just say, this is what we do. I don't even care if you keep the rest with your other agent. Now, again, you're going to cross sell at some point, but you could just say, this is what we do. We do it better than anybody else. There's some simple programming stuff that you can put around it, like regular check-ins. You can use if you have a CRM of some sort, just, little check-ins that ask, hey, is your payroll changed? Have you added anybody? Have you lost anybody? Let's make sure we're on top of it. These little check-ins, you look like a superstar. You can get some basic information off the web and create little walkthrough PDFs, or if you have a Zywave subscription, which is we have Zywave's broker briefcase, and we get a tremendous amount of content out of there that we use to help our customers. And, but that one coverage is a great place to start. Okay. If you're not going to do that, then I'd say the next thing, if you really want to focus on a class of business, pick something you can talk about for your first niche. Don't worry about market size or whatever. What do you like to do? What's something that you can engage with that business owner on? Because, especially if you're going to be niche focused, they can smell when you don't know what you're talking about, right? So if if a welder called and I was presenting I was going after welders, I don't know shit about welding, nothing, right? So like if they come to us, right, then I can say, hey, I can help you with your comp. I might not know the welding business, but if you come to me, I can help you with your workers' comp, because my expertise in the industry is really workers' comp and specialty liability. But like that, I can help you with that because I know I can speak everything other than I don't know how to weld. But if I'm going to be doing active outreach to welders because I did some sort of analysis and figured out welders would be a good industry and, it's an expensive class and there's premium, et cetera, but I don't know it, they're going to smell that. So inbound's a little different. If you're going outbound, pick something that you can speak the language of and just write a shit ton of it to start. And even if there's not a ton of premium, just get used to working it and being that person for that thing. And then what happens is that will easily translate to another niche, because now you can say, hey, I'm the largest writer of bakeries in, the state of New York. And now we're going after dry cleaners and laundromats or whatever. I don't know. But that will translate because now you already have success. You can say, hey, I write 15% of all the bakeries workers' comp in the state of New York. That will translate to another industry. That's success. But you have to be able to speak it. If you don't know, you have to be able to speak that language. And we all have something. It could be sports. It could be a particular, it could be construction or contracting. It could be accounting. It could be whatever your thing is. Pick that space and just write a ton of it, and don't worry about the premium at first. Would be my best advice.
No, that's solid. And you've said BOP a couple times. So for anyone that doesn't know BOP, business owner policy.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good. So
I wrote it down. That's why he's like, like BOP.
So I want to dive in now because I can guarantee someone listening to this, because I get asked this all the time on personal lines, how do you even start the conversation? So when you have a business owner, maybe you're going out trying to prospect your market. How do you even start that conversation to get the process started?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, all right. So again, I'm going to speak as if it were me. So if it were me, here's what I would do. Before I reached out to anybody, I would create 10 videos, put them on YouTube with the most frequently asked questions about a particular line of business, whatever you're prospecting. So again, let's go back to welders, right? So let's say you're going to prospect welders. I would create 10 videos on YouTube and create a little playlist specific to welding, insurance, frequently asked questions. and I would make them 3 to 5 minutes max, if not shorter, 3 or under, right? But just why does a welding contractor need general liability? Why does a welding contractor need workers' comp? Why does a welding contractor need commercial auto? 10 common reasons welders overpay for their insurance. Whatever those 10 most common questions are, I'd create those. Okay, that's number one. Once you have that, and that should take you, I mean, don't over-engineer this, right? Everyone gets all screwed up about video. Just get them out the door, right? Good sound, reasonable visual, just get it done. Once you have that done, then I would go out and you're going to have to subscribe to a database. That could be ZoomInfo, but that's super expensive. If you're in a state that insurancexdates.com, it's either date or dates, maybe both work, I don't know. Insurancexdate.com. If you're in a state where they have good information, that's a great one to use. MyEdge by Xywave is a good database. There's a bunch of good databases. Find a list of all the welders in your geographic region, in your state, however much you're going to prospect. All right. Then if you can't get the emails, there's a tool called Rocket Reach, ROCKE, Rocket Reach. You can spell it, we're all adults. RocketReach.com. That will help you get all the emails that you need. And what I would do is I would then take all those lit names and all those emails, concatenate them or whatever, and I put them in your CRM. And every day I would send 10 emails and make 10 calls. The 10 emails would be like this. Hi, my name is Ryan. I am a expert. I focus on, I insert whatever language sounds like you in this industry. I'm looking forward to our call tomorrow. All right. Here's a short video introducing myself. And then I'd use Loom, LOOM.com. And I'd do a simple Loom video, 30 seconds. Hi, my name is Ryan. I'm an expert in welding insurance. We have clients all over the state. I love working with welding contractors because I feel they're super underserved. We have all kinds of stuff. I'm looking forward to chatting with you tomorrow. Great. Bye. Click. Okay. So simple intro, simple video. And underneath that, I'd say, if you want to know what we know, here's a resource of 10 frequently asked questions and link to your YouTube channel. Okay. That's the email. You send 10 of those every day, and you don't have an appointment set for the next day. You act as if you do, right? So you send the email. Hey, I'm looking forward to our call tomorrow. They don't even know what you're talking about. They just assume that you're not on their calendar. Right. But you send that out. Some will watch it. Some won't. It doesn't matter. What it does is it mentally locks you in to make the call the next day. So just every day I send 10 out and then I call the 10 that I sent out the day before and just, and I would just do that every day. Just 10, because if people go, 10's not enough, I'm going to do 50. You're never going to do 50 every day. You're going to get burnt out too. And then once people start taking appointments with you, you're not going to have enough time to do 50. If you send 10 emails and take 10 phone calls a day or make 10 cold calls a day, your entire life will change in 365 days. That's it. And that's what I would do. It's that simple. And just 10 emails, 10 calls, 10 emails, 10 calls, 10 emails, 10 calls. And that would be every day to start your day. You'll be done in an hour, right? Unless you get someone on the phone and they want to chat, which is great. That's fine. So maybe some days you have 3 calls because on the third call, the person picks up and wants to talk with you. Don't worry about making the next 7. Work that 1, get it done, do your follow-ups in the afternoon. That will change your life. It will literally change your life. And you just do that simple process. The things that I see are 1, people overcomplicate the process. 2, they overestimate how much they're going to be able to get done. So they set these like 20 calls a day, 50 calls a day. You're never going to be able to sustain that. Not if you're actually writing business. If you're just screwing around. So what I see a lot is people will make calls, but they won't really make calls. They'll be bullshit calls. They'll be trying to not talk to the business owner. They'll be trying to just, because then they can check off, hey, I made a call, but they're not actually trying to get the person on the phone. Like, you have to try it. But if you do, you do 10 calls a day, what'll happen is your afternoons will start to stack up with actual appointments and from those calls. And, eventually even making the 10 calls will be hard to do. And that's what you want to get to. But don't overcomplicate the process, and don't set your prospecting too high. Make it reasonable. You do 10 videos and 10 calls a day, your life will change.
This is so good because I struggled with this when I went from personal lines, like almost like business to consumer to business. It's different. All right. And you're talking about a mindset shift almost. And I love how you're talking about like, don't focus on what actually moves the needle in your business. Like calls are cool, but conversations actually do something. Proposals, quotes actually do something. So you look like you had something to say too.
Well, it's the compounding effect. Where do you see is the tipping point? How long when you're like, okay, this is where, is there like a certain spot? Is it like 3 months? Is it 6 months? Is it the full year? Because for me, I like to know like, where's the point where most people quit? Because I want to push beyond
using
that.
like the 10-10 approach that he just said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Most people quit like within the first couple of days. I mean, here's the key. Here's one of the things about being an insurance agent. Most of your competition is terrible, sucks, and doesn't know what they're doing. So
call Weaver Sales Academy.
yeah. So, and it's true. So like, the point is, you are sitting, I mean, most people sit here and they're like, oh, I'm not good at cold calling. I'm not good at video. You're doing the work. Most of your competition, I have been speaking. I've done 350 plus paid keynotes in our industry since 2011. I have been at this game of trying to educate and help people do these sales and marketing processes to grow their business, particularly in a digital world. Not necessarily, I hate digital sales because I just feel like it, I feel like it makes it sound, people like associate, they lessen its value. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. But like how to market and sell insurance in a digital world for more than a decade now. And I can tell everyone listening to this, if you are simply doing it, even if you're terrible, you are so far out ahead of everyone else in your marketplace. It's not even funny. So the idea is just do the work. Now, most people will quit. I think that 3 months is a really good mark. If you can make it 3 months, this is going to turn into a habit for you, but you're not going to see real substantial results for 6 to 9 to 12 months because of the renewal cycle, right? Most people, the first time you touch them, they may give you a chance to come in and talk to them, but it's your test. It's not till year 2, year 3, year 4 of calling on them and saying, hey, I know we chatted real quick last year and you said you're all set, but again, this is what I do. I work with welders. This is what I do all the time. This is my spot. I can, we can talk about, insert welding term, insert welding problem, insert thing. And they're like, you know what? I didn't really get a great response from my agent last year. Why don't you come in this year? Right. So it's every call is not just setting you up to write the business this renewal. It's setting you up to write the next renewal or the next renewal because timing might be off. Life situations change, relationships change. And in personal, people are willing to switch like this. But in commercial, that is not the case. It's a big decision, particularly for businesses that might have meaty premiums that are actually going to make you money. $500 BOP. One, you can't make money on a $500 BOP. So what most people will do is they will go to these lowest common denominator products. It's not that they're not important or that the customers aren't important or that we shouldn't take care of them. We absolutely should. But understand those are not the types of accounts we should be prospecting. You cannot make money on those products. You cannot, I don't care. The only way you can make money is if you send that person to a customer sales center, let them sell it, let them service it, and forget that they exist. And I know all the purists out there are going, but Ryan, I'm a community business. And what about this? You are not doing them a favor by writing that business for them. Because what happens is on a $500 BOP is they're going to have needs and you're going to roll your eyes and you're going to, every time they need something, because you're looking at the fact that you make $72 on that policy and you have to pay a CSR or you have to try to pay yourself or whatever on that account. And it is a drag on your business. I'm not saying we don't have a couple, we do, but what we do a lot at Rogue is on these smaller accounts, particularly if it feels like they're the type of customer that can do this, we move them to the customer sales centers because they can actually do a better job for the client. Now we pick the carrier sales center that we think is going to best suit them, but that you got to think about it from the standpoint of your willingness, ability to serve that customer. This isn't, well, we're all about relationships. We're all about relationships. And sometimes the best way to do what's right for that customer is to integrate a carrier sales center into the relationship. We might still have like their cyber on our books, but their BOP and their comp and their commercial auto might be packaged with Hanover or Travelers or whoever. And then we write the cyber, or we write, their surety bonds or whatever. It's not that we don't have a relationship with them. It's just that they're best served in this way. So, okay. So take the small stuff out. That larger, meatier stuff, they are not just going to switch because you called them. It's not going to happen. So you're going to get year one. A lot of those calls are going to be actually to set up the renewal, to set up the opportunity to quote them on the following year. So what you say to them, maybe, so say you call 10 people and, one of them, says, hey, this year is not really a good time, or we're not shopping this year. This is where we want to be prepared, and say something like, completely understand. I just wanted to introduce myself as a resource. I'm always here throughout the year. Is it okay if I reach out to you about 120 days before your renewal next year, just to see if anything's changed? Is that okay? I'm not going to bother you throughout the year. But I'm just going to make a note and reach back out to you next year. Is that all right? 8, 9 out of 10 will say that's fine. That's a huge win. And then, one time throughout the year, maybe you put them on a long drip campaign, which is really just maybe like one email at one point that reaches out and says, hey, just want to say, I really appreciate the fact that you took my call. Can't wait to have a shot to work with you when your renewal comes up, something simple. And then you actually respond to them next year. So even the calls that it's not a good fit, don't take that as a personal offense. Just go, hey, I completely understand. I have a lot of people that I work with that I wouldn't move if someone just called me. Yeah. But if you have a need, let me know when you're setting up that next renewal. And that's really where the success begins. You got to get through that year one, and then year two, you start to knock things down. Yeah.
Insurance and sales in general is a lot like farming. You got to plant the seeds before you can ever harvest the crops. And I love you. That's why I actually really love your video idea, because that's going to stand out compared to anybody else that has ever contacted them. And when their current carrier does, or current agent does mess up, all of a sudden they remember the video that Ryan sent them. That was like, hey, this is what I specialize in. I'd love to have a conversation. That's an instant way to, that's so good.
Dude, I'll tell you this. So if you use Loom, what you'll see is you'll send these out, right? And Loom sends you notifications when people watch them.
Yeah.
So you'll send them out, you'll call, either they'll ghost you or maybe pick up, tell you they can't, not this year or whatever. Then something will happen. And like 6 months later, you'll get a notification, anonymous just watched this video, and it's because something happened and they went, who was that guy? And they go back and they search their email and they watch the video. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, something's going on. I can reach out to them, or I'll get a call, you'll get a call in, or then a couple days later, you'll get an a response to this email from 6 months earlier. So it's just constantly, your farming example, planting these seeds and keeping them out there in a differentiated way. And everything I just described, Loom is like $7 a month. Mm-hmm. You're already using an email provider, your AMS, or probably some sort of simple or whatever CRM. Like, we're not talking about adding a ton of tools. And I do all my videos with my iPhone, whatever this is. I think this is a 13 Pro. So I do all my videos with this cinematic mode on this. If people want to see it, they can go to my Instagram. It's Ryan_Hanley on Instagram. You can see the videos that I've shot with this in cinematic mode. Like, particularly there's ones that are framed where I'm sitting in a chair. I got a little book table here, and the Declaration of Independence is by my head. You can check those out. The sound, the look, all of it, iPhone 13 Pro. Just on a simple, I got a simple, actually the setup is like right over here from where we're broadcasting, but probably $50 total, camera holder, tripod. And then I just frame the shot, and then I put it in cinematic mode on my iPhone. I look like I know what I'm doing. I look like I have a $2,000 camera. So You don't need a ton of material. You can do the videos with your AirPods in or earpods so you have better audio. People don't care about that. That's not something that people care about. They want the audio to be good and the video to be good enough. And if you have those two, the video quality to be good enough, you do those two things, people will watch them and they just want the content. That's what they want. They want the answers. So we're not talking about major, you don't have to have some big studio setup, right? Just frame yourself in a chair. Just do a vertical video framed. And the thing I like about vertical too, I know we're kind of super tactical right now, but is that if you do vertical, your framing doesn't have to be as wide, right? If you go landscape style, you're picking up a lot of background stuff. But if you go vertical, now for YouTube videos, landscape does work better, but like you can do a lot of social media video content in the vertical, in the portrait style, because now your framing can be tight. And you can chop out any stuff that makes it look unprofessional. So you just have a decent chair and like something in the background that looks semi-professional in portrait style or vertical video style. You look like a freaking pro. Like you actually do have a studio. So, there's a lot of ways to make it so that you can create these things without having to take on some huge investment, which is another, piece of resistance that people use.
But it's the hurdle. So if you're listening to this, that resistance is built in for a reason, because it eliminates people who will and will not do it. So if you're hearing this and going, okay, I'm willing to take this step, you're already that much farther ahead. I'm willing to put it on YouTube. I'm willing to post it. I'm willing to share it. I love Loom. Side note, this is not sponsored by Loom. I would take that sponsorship for training too, because we use it internally with our team of like screen recording, going through the process, and just a training aspect. So I think Loom is great. You can also message, like if they have questions, they can message in Loom, like, hey, I had a question about this. So
we use Loom for all our video proposals too. So we, all our small business stuff and really even some of our middle market stuff that we write, we use video proposals because we're fully remote. And it's great for that too. Loom is a great tool and it's so inexpensive for how much value you can get out of it.
And if you're listening to this right now and you're on the fence, just remember when you start anything, unless you're maybe there are some gifted individuals out there, but me, when I start something, I always suck. Like it sucks. And the only way you get better is by what you said earlier, Ryan, doing the work. You will consistently get better. If you do it consistently, you will get better. So if you're one of those individuals right now that's like, man, I've been thinking about getting the camera out. I've been thinking about doing this. Just do it. Just do it, because there's only one way to get better, and that's by doing it.
Yeah, there's a great stat that I don't know if your audience is familiar with Jesse Itzler. He's got a couple great books. He's a really cool seems like, I don't know him personally. Seems like a really cool guy online and stuff. And he does a lot of like personal challenges that he then documents and talks about and all that kind of stuff. Really interesting guy. So he has this talk that he gives around the 100-hour rule, which basically means that if you can do something for 18 minutes a day, if you can do something 18 minutes a day for 1 year, you will be better than 90% of the people in the world at that thing. So think about that. 18. This is again why I say 10 emails, 10 calls. That's it. Don't make this because it will become overwhelming to you, right? You'll be like, oh, I can't make 20 calls again. It's also outreach is incredibly taxing on your stress and your anxiety and your emotional state. It just is. I don't care how good at you. I don't care how experienced you are at detaching from the outcome and all the other aspects of quality sales outreach. It is taxing. It is a draining activity. So set a timer. I'm going to cold call for 18 minutes a day, and I'm going to do video outreach emails for 18 minutes, as many as I can get. That might be another way to do it. And in 1 year, if you do that every day for 1 year, right, you will be better than 90% of the people in the world at those two activities. And that, to me, when you start to break it down in that way, it becomes very achievable. Mm-hmm. It's again, back to the why am I doing 75 hard? Because I want to build into my life the ability to to not negotiate with myself, right? I know that where I struggle is negotiation with myself, right? I'll be very disciplined for a while, and then, it's a Saturday and the moon's in the sign of the Aquarius, so I can have 10 beers tonight or whatever, right? Or, I can go to McDonald's. I don't go to fast food, but, whatever. I can do something terrible for myself. Even if I've made a promise not to. So I think learning to not negotiate with yourself is a big part of why I'm doing 75 hard, and setting these tasks and setting defined times to do them that seem very reasonable, that seem very manageable, is a major key, because you don't get burnt out, but you're on this path to massive success. And the stats are just undeniable.
Yep. Do hard shit, man. I love it.
Yeah, do hard shit.
Ryan, if somebody wanted to follow you, connect with you, work with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so I appreciate that. So if you want to see what I'm doing at Rogue Risk, just go to roguerisk.com. That's our digital agency. You can just check it out. We have a YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff. So you can see, literally follow and copy the things that we're doing. I mean, it's not a secret. We're just willing to do the work. If you're interested in this stuff, I have a podcast as well, The Ryan Hanley Show. You can subscribe to that. But I also create a tremendous amount of content on Instagram around personal development, leadership. Like, basically, it's as I have struggles or learn how to overcome things, or mindset, like as I'm in my own growth phase, I am sharing there and trying to help others realize that they're not alone in these thoughts, and that there are tactics, tricks, mindsets, heuristics that we can use to be successful. So that's Ryan_Hanley on Instagram.
Cool.
I love it.
You good?
I'm so good. Delayed gratification. We underestimate what we can do in a year and overestimate what we can do in a day. So this whole...
That's 100% true.
Brought it full circle.
Well, Ryan, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate you.
Yeah, my pleasure. I appreciate being on the show, and I just loved it. It was a great conversation.
Absolutely. And for all of those of you that are listening, thank you so much for your time today. As always, time is the most valuable and important asset that we all have. We appreciate you spending time with us today. Go out and make it great.